it's a big week for us as we get into this week. It's one of those lean-in weeks where if guys are going to make a move, now is the time. They gotten acclimated to the environment, how we go about our business. It's really time for the talents to start to show, for there to be fluidity in play and understanding. And so those are some of the things we're looking for. We're thoughtfully constructing some of that in competition. We're asking for specific matchups. We want to see who can compete against known varsity-like guys.
Welcome to Heinz Field, everybody, where it is lean-in week, according to head coach Mike Tomlin. It is also be light on your feet. You are taking a live look inside Heinz Field. There are not too many people left in this building. I'm Missi Matthews with Mike Prisuta. The field crew is here doing their part. Unfortunately, due to inclement weather, practice has been moved to the south side to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. I think we all knew it was bound to happen. You cannot combat Mother Nature, as Coach Tomlin reminded us Saturday night when practice was cut short. And today is one of those days where it might look okay right now, but it is not going to stay this way much longer.
You can combat Mother Nature, but you're ultimately going to lose. So this being lean-in week, time to make alternate plans and get some work in. I appreciated that quote from Mike Tomlin to start things off, Missy, but sure sounded yesterday like some guys have already made a move, that they didn't wait for this week to make said move. It's already taken place.
I think you are talking about Chase Claypool and Alex Highsmith, two rookies that you asked Coach Tomlin about yesterday, and he used the word varsity when talking about them. Craig Wolfley will be joining us in just a little bit. If you have any questions about those two rookies or any others, please tweet us using hashtag SteelersCamp. But I do just want to go over the practice report from yesterday in terms of who was practicing and who wasn't. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger getting his first day off. He was out at practice, so we did see a lot of Mason Rudolph. But Coach Tomlin did say in terms of Ben and Juju Smith-Schuster, those were guys they were giving the day off to preserve the wear and tear of the season, and maybe vets days off, we could say that, but not practicing as well yesterday. Deontay Johnson is dealing with a calf injury. Wendell Smallwood shoulder. Terrell Edmonds did not practice. Kevin Dotson still dealing with that knee injury. Chukes Okorafor battling for that right tackle spot, has a groin. Chris Wormley now has a shoulder injury. Marquise Pouncey was excused. Some players who were injured during practice: offensive lineman Derwin Gray, Bud Dupree's dealing with a hand injury, and Anthony Johnson. So, again, practice is not taking place here at Heinz Field. It is at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. So we will get a practice report sometime later this afternoon and also hear from Coach Tomlin. So we'll get a chance to maybe figure out what happened over there. So it is different. It's not at Heinz Field, but we're going to roll with it. We are light on our feet, Prisuta.
You got to be. You got to be at this time of the year. No Latrobe, but everywhere else, I guess, is the way they're going to roll this training camp. It's happened before. Sometimes it gets wet, and you still got to get the work in, like I said. But those Veterans Days off that you mentioned, twofold in purpose and approach: one, to preserve the guys you know you're going to be relying on, and two, to allow those who have not yet proven themselves to be known varsity guys to play with said type of player and see if they can maybe join the club.
All right, it was a big day yesterday with Chukes Okorafor not practicing for Zach Banner. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We had a chance to hear from TJ Watt, but also a big day for Mason Rudolph, and we do have some video of Mason. Of course, this is not live, not from today, so I do want to reiterate, practice is not taking place here at Heinz Field in case if you are just joining us, but according to the practice report, Mason did have a pretty good day filling in for Ben Roethlisberger. He threw a perfect pass in the flat on a third down play that had Randy Fiechner, the offensive coordinator, excited to the point where he yelled, "Perfect, perfect." Rudolph threw a bullet to Switzer, and then later in practice, Rudolph was very sharp and 11 on 11, completing all 4 of his passes and even throwing a deep one to Eric Ebron across the middle. Rudolph threw a pretty end zone pass to Chase Claypool. Joe Hayden was able to jump a screen intended for James Washington. So we will find out what Ben Roethlisberger did or did not do today. Again, he had the day off yesterday, so a big day for Mason Rudolph and all of the other quarterbacks as well. Did I mention Craig Wolfley is kind enough to be here at Heinz Field with us today?
You did mention that. And by the way, that was great of the crew running out to the airport to get footage of Mason bringing the planes in.
You like that?
The more you can do. Position flexibility.
All right. As I said, Mike was the one who asked the question yesterday to Coach Tomlin about Chase Claypool and Alex Highsmith, two young guys who are jumping on a moving train very fast, who have been popping up on the practice report. Here is what Coach Tomlin had to say.
To be succinct, they're proving that they belong. Both guys have kind of distinguished themselves in some JV competition, if you will. Over the course of this camp process, they've got more opportunity against known veteran guys, and really they don't appear to be out of place in that company. So far, so good. As they continue to prove themselves, that will increase and thus the growth process for those two and others. But those two you mentioned specifically are one of the ones I'm thinking about when I'm talking about guys that have had an opportunity to ascend and are taking advantage of it.
All right, as I said, here is Craig Wolfley. He's smiling because there is no rain yet here at Heinz Field. Again, practice moved to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. Wolf, are you a little bummed you can't watch practice today?
Yeah, I was, but under the promise of having a box lunch, I'm here, okay?
All right.
I'm good.
All right, we asked fans to submit some questions about Highsmith and Claypool, but before we get to those, I did want to ask you, we heard from defensive coordinator Keith Butler this morning, and he did say the same thing as Coach Tomlin. Highsmith has a chance to take some snaps. So what are you seeing from those two guys specifically so far in camp, and what do you think will happen as we get into the regular season?
Well, I'm awfully excited to see these young men get out here and compete. Mike Tomlin, of course, I love his phraseology, going from the JV to the varsity and so forth. It's all good stuff because it really describes where these young guys are at. Look, you've got a young man named Alex Highsmith, okay? This young man is starting to really get some nice feel in his reps on the pass rush and on the run defense. Now, what do I mean by a nice feel? Well, right now, I think he's got more feel for pass rushing than he's got actual technique. And he's learning to bring that technique out because he's getting instruction from the coaches, but he's also watching T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, and he's trying to meld what he watches from them into his own style and express it through his own physical attributes that he has. So as we watch him right now, we're seeing some really good stuff, and he's not even quite sure of exactly what he's doing, I would think. All right, so I like Alex Highsmith in the sense of run defense. He's starting to be able to read and float to the ball, hold the point of attack, those things. Come down on the backside, stay in your run fit. Do these things that are, you've got to have the essentials of to be able to be a participant when everything goes live in a month or so. The other guy, Chase Claypool, I got to tell you something. You talk about catching a moving train. This is the first guy that maybe outruns the train. This is a guy that really has some great attributes. He is nothing but pure Canadian top-shelf bacon. I'm not kidding you. This guy is something. You watch this guy go, and whether it's catching the ball in a high point in the end zone, whether it's a toe tap on the sideline, he is doing these things, and he's doing them in a physical way. Joe Hayden says this guy's going to be a problem, and Joe should speak because it has been a problem. It's great for Joe to be going against him, and it's great even more so for Claypool to be able to sharpen the sword, so to speak, against a guy like Joe Hayden. So the physicality of Claypool plus his speed and all the things that he can bring, I think he's going to be someone, believe you me when I say this, they're going to have safeties learning to backpedal again when last year so many safeties weren't backpedaling too fast with the wide receiver group last year. With Claypool out there, they're going to have to learn the art of the backpedal again.
Well, if you mentioned the veteran recognition from Joe Hayden, I believe Eric Ebron also tweeted about Chase Claypool. Now, I know back in your day, veterans just didn't tweet about rookies, because there was no Twitter. But, he's already gotten the attention of established guys. And throw Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator in that group, who talked about Claypool today and even talked about maybe defending him if he had to, and said we'd find a way to double cover him if we could. I mean,
That's pretty high.
Yeah, this doesn't happen every training camp where the defensive coordinator's talking about an offensive rookie with such glowing praise.
Exactly so, Mike. You're right on. Keith Butler is recognizing what so many people are kind of looking and going, that looks like, and Keith is he's verifying it. This is a guy that can blow straight down the sidelines and create a smoke trail behind him. This is a guy that the safeties over the top start to lean because they see this guy 6'4", 238 pounds. You know what 6'4", 238 can do? Back in my day, that was tight end power. That was a guy that lined up in line that could throw a linebacker around. This is a guy who gets up and on the line of scrimmage and some corners try to jam him, and he just gives him a little bit of bang, and he's out of the way. That's great release technique, and that's great physicality. And when you listen to this guy talk about how he wants to be a contributor in the running game, he wants to block, he wants to be a special teamer and do the things a special teamer, golly, this guy is, like I said, this is pure Canadian top-shelf bacon.
I really like that analogy. I think we're going to have to stick with that one and try to use it every show as much as possible. Well, if I did mention, fans were tweeting in their questions for you regarding those guys, so let's get to some of those questions and have you answer them for us. Liz wants to know, what do you think is a reasonable expectation stat-wise for Claypool in his rookie season?
Wow, that one is really for people that have a
Wolf doesn't do math.
No, I don't do math, and my pay grade will not allow me to go that far. But let me tell you this, dear lady. I will tell you that Claypool is going to be a contributor more than just the stats because of what he brings with his high-velocity speed, what he brings with his physicality. He's going to draw and get guys coming to him like the honeys, the honey to the bees and the bees to the honey, right? They're going to be hanging around him when you're going to have bigger windows underneath for the other guys. And that's one of the things I think that Chase Claypool is going to be so capable of doing, is making other defenses take special notice of him. And then you've got Juju, you got Deontay, you got James, all those cats running stuff underneath, the Ebron, you got yourself Vance McDonald. You got a lot of guys that can contribute. And you got one guy that can really tear the top off the coverage and do so in a very physical way.
Well, if I agree with you on the, tough to quantify via stats, because the stuff you were talking about, running down that sideline and drawing coverage, the impact in the kicking game, there aren't numbers for a lot of that stuff. But I keep going back to that first day in pads when they threw the fade and Chase Claypool went up over Joe Hayden, and Hayden tried to knock the ball out of his hands. And as Hayden put it, he wouldn't let me knock the ball out of his hands. Watching this guy run around out here, I got a hard time not seeing him score, 5-6 touchdowns in 16 games if he's fortunate enough to play the full season?
You're a better prognosticator than I am. And let's face it, I flunked math twice, so what's the point? Here's the deal. With this guy here, he's going to be a contributor. It may be later more than sooner. It may be sooner more than later. I don't know yet because we've not seen all that this young man can bring. But he's bringing a lot to the dance. And what I see. And he's also, as I said, his contributions aren't going to be measured right just in stats, but maybe blocking people down the field, maybe running down on some special teams, getting her done there. This guy's got a lot to offer.
All right, Wolf, let's get to one more fan question for you. This one is from Heather. What has stuck out at practice for each of those two guys?
Oh, for each of these two guys, I guess, it depends. If we're talking Alex Highsmith, I watch him, and you see the familiar things that you see a young buck do. You're going to see some excellent play followed by some big mistakes and gaffes. You'll see reading the ball well, getting to the ball, then you'll see, where did it go? These are the typical things that you see from him. But the important thing is it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards. It's not 2 steps forward and 3 steps backward, if you get my drift, and that's about as far as my math will carry me.
Yeah, I think you look at Highsmith, and to me he's a hands catcher, and a lot of rookies are not. A lot of big guys are not. It was kind of funny listening to Keith Butler today. He said he thought he had brick hands in the early going, but in the last week plus, Claypool, has really picked it up. Now, the last week plus is when the shoulder pads came on, so apparently Chase Claypool is a gamer. And with Highsmith, Keith Butler emphasized that you don't have to correct a mistake 2 or 3 times. When he messes something up, they tell him it doesn't happen again. Those are both really good traits for the 2 positions those guys are playing.
And when I may add in last of all for the Claypool, one of the things that I noticed that stood out to me was his attention to detail along the sidelines. He must have some of those ruby red slippers from Kansas because he does some pretty good toe tapping.
All right, Wolf, before we let you go, I just saw some exciting news announced by the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Steelers
Wolf,
Super
congratulations. You made it.
No.
Class of 2000 never, Mikey.
This is important news. They just tweeted that Steelers Super Scout, they are calling him, and we all would probably say much more than that. Bill Nunn has been selected as a finalist for the class of 2021. They are saying to be elected, he will have to receive 80% of voting, supported by the entire 48-member committee. That will be taking place in February of 2020, probably right before the Super Bowl. So a very long overdue thing that I think everybody in the Steelers organization has been hoping that it would be that next step. And I'm sure for his family of the late Bill Nunn, this is a big deal. And I know he was somebody that you really enjoyed as well, Wolf.
Oh, I love Bill Nunn. What a great man. What a great tribute to him. And it should go through. You know, I think about Bill Nunn and his contributions to this organization and to football as a whole. And you love the man. When you sat with him, you always got up with the feeling like you just stayed at a Holiday Inn. You're just smarter for having hung out with Bill Nunn. And I always loved the words he spoke to me. In a very kind way, I remember one very tender moment when he looked at me and said, "Wolf, you're the only one I ever missed on." I love the guy. Great man.
Yeah, amen to that. I mean, Bill Nunn didn't just revolutionize the NFL and scouting. He was a Hall of Fame guy in life in his work as a newspaper man and the impact that he had beyond the NFL. But boy, if there are 21% of the Hall of Fame voters that don't vote for him, I'm going to have a chat with those guys because
I'll go with you, brother.
This is an honor that is long overdue, and Wolf, you'll appreciate this. I remember Bill Nunn telling me a scouting story one time. He said when he would go to a college campus, he would look and see the signs that the students post up and see if there was a dance. You know, you walk by a telephone poles, dance tonight after the game. And he would go to the dance because he said there's no better place to see if a big guy can move.
I love it. That would be classic Bill Nunn.
All right. Wolf, thanks as always for your time. We appreciate it. Again, if you are just joining us, the late and great Bill Nunn, the Steelers Super Scout, as the Pro Football Hall of Fame is calling him, has been selected as a finalist for the class of 2021. We will have much more coverage on that on Steelers.com as the news is just breaking during our training camp live show. Again, Steelers practice due to bad weather coming towards Heinz Field is being moved to the Steelers Southside facility, the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. As you can see, no players starting here, no warm-ups, Prisuta, but we are here, we are safe, we're under the tent, and we are going to skedaddle before that bad weather gets in. We do have a few more things to get to, of course. We did have a chance to hear from outside linebacker TJ Watt just before lunchtime today, and he talked about the right tackle battle and what that has meant for him at practice.
For me, I take it as a challenge to go up against two totally different tackles, and it's always good to not go up against the same guy every single day and to be able to see. Obviously, Chooks is a little bit smaller, a little bit more of a finesse player, but he's very, very well improved with his hand punching, and I think Zach has done a good job all offseason of getting in shape and being able to compete throughout the whole practice. And I feel like he's done well with his hand punch as well, but at the end of the day, I trust my abilities, and it doesn't matter who they put out there.
All right, Mike, and as Coach Tomlin said yesterday, Chooks Okorafor had the day off. He's dealing with a groin injury, so it was Zach Banner versus TJ Watt, and his coach said TJ won a lot of those battles. Yeah,
and to me, that's the real benefit. TJ Watt said he likes going against different guys. He's an equal opportunity abuser. But the work that those guys are getting, and I don't know that they're going to be able to decide who starts at right tackle based on how they block T.J. Watt, because to exaggerate a little bit, I don't know that that's happened yet. But, it's not going to get it much harder, if any harder, for whoever ends up being the starter than going against T.J. Watt periodically in practice. So that's a pretty big deal. But I got to tell you, Missi, that Bill Nunn news is phenomenal.
My timeline is just buzzing. Everyone saying long overdue.
Long overdue.
It is a step in the right direction, though. And how great would it be, though, Mike, next year, because of the enshrinement this year being postponed due to COVID-19, Can you just imagine the Steelers contingency and the people that could possibly be going in to Canton in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
How about Bill Nunn and Donnie Shell going in together?
I mean, is that not perfect?
Yeah, good for the NFL to finally get this situation addressed because, as you said, it's been long overdue, and the guy's track record is just incomparable, and he was a better guy. So good day, even if we're not seeing a practice here at Heinz Field.
All right, as we said, practice moved to the south side, but it is Tuesday, even though sometimes we forget what day of the week it is, which means it is our Terrible Towel giveaway. So for everybody who is watching on any of the Steelers social media live streams, you can comment with today's keyword for your chance to win. And because we are talking about Chase Claypool and Alex Highsmith playing varsity ball, the keyword today, Mike, is varsity.
Very clever.
So if you would like a chance to win.
Can I get jackets now?
Varsity jackets. I see what you did there. I was like, we're talking about a terrible towel. I got it. All right. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm a little off.
Eventually, yeah.
I'm not, turning around trying to see who's at practice and who's not. So, again, practice moved to the south side. The keyword today is varsity. So we will have a practice report recap for you on Steelers.com later this afternoon. The players are off tomorrow, which means we will not be here as well, but we will be back on Thursday. So, good stuff. Again, ending on a high note, I think, not being able to see practice, but knowing that Bill Nunn is now a finalist, that made my day.
Yeah, and it sounds like the door is open and the path is pretty clear. So worth the wait for Bill Nunn and the Steelers. And this guy was way bigger than football. He was a giant in football, but what he did through his work as a newspaper man and the fight for civil rights and ongoing social justice, and that fight's been going on a long time, and Bill Nunn was on the front lines.
All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see everybody back here at Heinz Field on Thursday.